This is FE Peer Review. The date is the 9th of November 2022. Can we trust in science? A couple of days ago I put out a video, YouTube's most boring video, and it inspired a few comments from my subscribers. I wanted to read those to you and my response to them. Citation Required writes, "The notion that someone could get so much false data onto multiple tracking websites without anyone noticing is just absurd." Middlewell 531 kilohertz, who regularly comments on my videos and whose comments I always enjoy, he says, "As far as I know, the well-known tracking sites don't track airplanes themselves, but process the input of thousands of stationary ADS-B radar ping receivers, many of which are privately owned by amateurs and enthusiasts. It is unknown to me to which degree the data received by the tracking sites is consolidated and verified to throw out deliberately, quote, faked planes, but I would not completely exclude this possibility. Of course, this is only a feasibility consideration based on the tiny little bit of knowledge, background knowledge I have in this field, and not in any way meant to devalue FEPR's efforts to give us this video." Thank you, Middlewell. Thank you, Citation Required. My response: any flat earther trying to claim that these tracking sites cannot be relied upon, especially considering that they largely agree with each other, would need to be able to back up their claim with solid evidence. I'm going to reiterate that sentence. A flat earther, or somebody saying, well, you can't trust those websites, or how do you know I can't, how do I know I can trust those websites? They're basically making a claim that they are not reliable, and that claim needs to be backed up with evidence. Continuing, I could probably find more tracking websites that agree with these. So as far as me making a claim that they are reliable, reasonably accurate, and not engaging in fraud, my burden of proof is fairly simple. First, I've got multiple independent sites that agree with each other. So if any of them are hoaxing, they must all be hoaxing, and yet none have ever been shown to be hoaxing. I'll add here, somebody else pointed out in a comment, it's possible that they're all drawing from a single data source and that data source is somehow compromised. Yes, that's possible. So that would need to be something that was looked into. However, the person claiming that they may be hoaxing or may be unreliable is making a claim that needs to be supported by evidence. I, on the other hand, in making a claim that they can be relied upon, although I am indeed making a claim, I'm going to make an argument in this video why I don't really have a burden of proof in that area. And the reason why, well, you'll see. Okay, second, there is a basic principle at work in our society and within our professional institutions that expects ethical behavior. It is a given. We do not demand that our scientists prove they aren't hoaxing every time they conduct an experiment. We give them the, quote, benefit of the doubt. We accept what they show with regard to their process, their data, their results, etc., at face value. Our society is built on this trust, and for good reason. It enables us to be far more efficient with our work. However, we are not naive. We know that some people will inevitably abuse that trust. So we have extreme consequences for people who do. Professors lose the lifetime benefit of tenure. Scientists' professional reputations can be destroyed and their income and respect reduced for life. Plagiarism is punished the same way. The punishments for abuses of trust are strong, as they should be. Again, this enables us to keep trust central in our society and enjoy the benefits of efficiency which it brings. This is my basic argument for why I, when making the claim that these websites can be trusted, do not really have a burden of proof with regard to that claim. There's a societal agreement that we will grant trust at the outset, and that trust can only be lost. I just wanted to mention that most professions, such as structural engineers, doctors, lawyers, they have professional organizations that they join, and these organizations have explicit code of ethics. This is a way of formalizing the societal agreement on trust in our professionals. Okay, back to the main topic. I've had a fair number of new subscribers in the last few months, so I wanted to mention two videos I've done in the past, which I would encourage those subscribers to go and watch, and they relate to these ideas. The first one is just under 6 minutes long. The second one's a little over 2 minutes, so they're both very small burden on people's time. Here's the first one, and I'll put links in the description. In this one, I discuss a basic idea that I'm trying to express about the difference between taking something on faith or believing it versus knowledge. I'll read this small piece of it. There's more in the video. I think the important differentiation is the acceptance of hypotheses about natural objects and processes as fact without physical testable evidence versus accepting hypotheses as fact only when the weight of physical testable evidence supports the hypotheses. I like to characterize it as the difference between knowing and believing. I don't want to get into definition game wordplay and all that. That's not my point. I am simply stating that I intend to use these two words, knowing and believing, in a very specific ways. I'm not saying this is the right way to use these words or the only way to use these words. These are the ways I'm using them. These are the ways I'm choosing to use them in order to express two distinct ideas that I think need to be differentiated. There are things that we believe or take on faith where we accept it as likely or certain, despite having very little or even no evidence to support that. And I use the word belief in that context in order to differentiate from to know, which I'm using to indicate something that we accept because we've been presented with substantial evidence. So that's one idea that I think we need to be 100% clear about when we're talking with people. What do we really mean by believe and know? Do I believe my teachers? Do I believe in general relativity? Do I believe in evolution? We hear that phrase, that word belief, used in that context a lot, and I think we need to be very cautious about how it's being used and who's using it and what their intentions are in using that word. I don't believe in general relativity. I know that general relativity is correct. I know that evolution is correct. I don't believe in them, and I'll explain why a little more in a moment. This is the other video I wanted to suggest to people. It's just over 2 minutes long. And this is again just a little bit of it. We got to where we are today because we built on the knowledge of our ancestors, because we trusted our teachers and valued the knowledge they could impart, and because we in turn would be trustworthy teachers and generously share our knowledge. So in this video, I was going back to the issue of trust and an attitude towards learning. These two things, knowledge, belief, and trust, they all fit together. And that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit more here. I'm no brilliant physicist. Ask me to explain general relativity to you, and I would fall flat on my face trying. I would just tell you, well, no, you're going to have to ask someone else. But I'm confident that general relativity is correct. In fact, I can say that I know it's right. I don't believe in general relativity. I know it's right. And how can I say I know it's right when I personally cannot explain it and don't pretend to have a full knowledge of it? I can say I know it's right rather than I believe in it because of trust. Trust in our system of science, because I know that Einstein understood it. I know that he understood it because lots of other physicists worked with him and challenged him, and they all struggled together to see if it was right or wrong. And after all of their hard work, smartest people in the world, smartest physicists in the world, after all their hard work, they figured out, yeah, it's right, it works. They understand why it works, and I can trust them. So I can safely say that I know it works. It's not a question of belief. It's because I've combined my trust with their knowledge. I'm inserting this as an edit to look at the parallel with belief. I just said that I know general relativity is true, not because I understand it myself, but because people like Einstein, Niels Bohr, these physicists who are expert in this field, they know it. They know it through scientific research, analysis of evidence. I justifiably trust them, so consequently I can say I know general relativity is true rather than I believe general relativity is true. Now let's look at the parallel with regard to understandings of the world through belief. I want to be 100% clear here. I have no intention of denigrating belief. I have no intention of denigrating religion or faith or anything like that. I'm simply trying to clarify two different ideas. So let's suppose I'm a member of this church. I personally am not, but let's suppose I'm a member of this church and I'm sitting in the pews and I'm looking up towards the altar, and there are all these people up there who are experts in their field, just as Niels Bohr and Einstein were experts. These people are experts in their field. They have spent their adult lifetime studying this information. They have come to certain views about humanity, about humanity's relationship to a greater being, about the nature of the universe. Their understanding isn't based on the kind of physical evidence and scientific analysis that people like Einstein engage in. They have come to their understanding through belief and faith in large part. Now I trust them. I justifiably trust them as experts. So I accept their understanding, and I can say that I believe it because they believe it. Now, I suppose a religious person might say, well, I believe it on its own merits by my own research. That's fine. I'm just referring to this parallel situation with regard to experts. These people are experts. They have come to their understanding through belief. I trust them, therefore I can say I believe. Using the words knowledge and belief as I have been, I would be inconsistent for me to say I know such and such piece of doctrine is true. But I could say I believe such and such doctrine is true. And that belief can be tremendously strong. But it's a belief, it's an understanding based on faith, not based on physical evidence analyzed in a scientific manner. So that's the parallel, the belief parallel that goes along with the knowledge and trust example I gave with myself and general relativity and Einstein. Now we'll return to the last part of our video. This is my best attempt to try to explain the difference between knowing something and believing something, and why trust is central to the survival even of our species. It's fundamental, absolutely essential. And when that trust is abused, it's very rightfully punished. I'm going to end this here, otherwise I'm liable to start rambling. I did not script this. I might have been able to be more succinct if I had spelled it out in careful detail in advance. I hope that it was clear. I think these are pretty basic ideas that need to be made more explicit in our conversations, especially when we're having debates and so forth. I've heard people, like in yesterday's debate discussion by Mr. Sensible and Kyle Adams about the nature of proof, I heard Kyle misuse the word believe in very deceptive and manipulative ways. And I think we need to be conscious of this kind of stuff and confront it when we encounter it. So hopefully these little thoughts on trust, belief, and knowledge, evidence, and so forth, hopefully these will be useful to some of you in your future conversations. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Please do click the like button if you found this worthwhile, and subscribe if you haven't. I want to say welcome to a few new subscribers I've had in the last few months. Please do take a few minutes and go back and check out those old videos. I'll put the link in the description. Thanks again. Bye-bye. Have a great day.